John, Tierney.
Thank you, President, Executive Board members. Representing...
John, could you just speak into the microphone? That'd be fun. Great.
President, Executive Board. Representing the small Oceania M&As, I can attest to the enthusiasm and support to this iFoil equipment and the events and formats and outcomes. The development also at Continental Association or Pacific regional games within those qualifying systems, plus the alignment of the equipment, events and formats at these other events that we are also talking about are really exciting and well-received initiatives that will enable our smaller M&As to soak it up and become involved in the opportunities offered at the World and Olympic events. I know that in our region, for us it's going back a long time, but we can go back in Fiji and Cook Islands to Olympics that were in the 80s and 90s, where we had Pacific Island athletes in the windsurfing class at the Olympic Games. And that resonates around the Pacific in a number of countries, right through Papua New Guinea and other countries. And it's interesting, but from our athlete perspective, these opportunities are very welcome. And it's also been pointed out to me that in our region, the pro circuit operates, it's proven, it's effective, and the sailors can point to it as being, we've been doing it for a long, long time, John. The impact upon our reputation as an Olympic sport is really, really important to me. From both delivering the change and the innovation, you know, that our television, media and public are looking for, but combining that with the decisions that were made in respect to offshore equipment for 2024 that are already on the Olympic slate, we will unite the sailing world with a fair and equitable representation to all our sailors into the Olympic arena. And finally, from a financial perspective, the opportunities to maximise our sponsorship to achieve a quantum leap from what we were talking about this morning, perhaps from a Category 4 to a Category D to a Category C, but if we're adventurous, maybe from a D to even a Category B. Sport is life-changing for sailing. This is really where growth and revenues come from. This may double revenues. This may, or not may, it will, I believe, if we're successful, develop meaningful strategies that enable the other commission, the Participation and Development Council, to be meaningful and fully active on behalf of the worldwide family of sailors. So from that point of view, from down there in the South Pacific, we're ready. Thank you, President.
Thank you, John. Sarah?
If I could first just address some comments that have been made from an events point of view and perhaps on behalf of the Evaluation Committee, and then with my Group L hat on as a council member, just make a few comments. So first, in terms of the reference to the impact of this decision, throwing away, you know, the techno and impacting the techno pathway, we really don't see that that is going to happen at all. We had Big Techno at our trials. They have a youth foiling board. They put their existing techno rigs on the youth foiling board. So they're very much embracing this as part of the future. And we think, you know, if anything, it'll probably enhance the techno pathway. Secondly, we also tested whether the coach skills are transferable, and certainly from the conversations that we had, the view was that the coaching skills are transferable to the foiling event. And then finally on cost, again, we focused on that very carefully, and we do think it's going to be very similar to the RSX cost in terms of a package. If I could now just talk as representative of Group L and follow up on some of John's comments, but perhaps drawing together the very detailed knowledge I have on this topic because of my engagement with it. And some of these things have been mentioned by others, but the vast majority of the windsurfing community support this change, and even those pushing to retain the RSX in 2024 are suggesting we move to foiling in 2028. And as you've heard me say, it does meet all of our objectives in terms of a strong event for our Olympic program. And it does have an impact on universality, because you might not know that there's only one continent that didn't participate in windsurfing in 2016, and we may not participate in 2020 either, and that is Group L, Oceania. So we know that this change will bring the last continent back into this event. But moving, back to what we were talking about this morning, we know the IOC income is very significant for our sport. We know it's difficult to attract meaningful cash sponsorship. But our 2024 event slate actually has the ability to do this, as John mentioned, in terms of lifting us to the higher level of income sharing from the IOC. And just to remind you that although there's no specific metrics on how the IOC decides which sport is in which level, we know they look at things like sponsor interest, broadcast ratings, and spectator engagement. And all sports are divided into these 1 of 5 levels, and we are in D, and it is the second lowest. We're there with 5 other sports, but there's only one that's lower than us. So, we're right at the bottom when the IOC looks at our sport, pretty much. But we have this huge opportunity in 2024 to move. When you look at 2024 with the offshore, the mixed kite, the potential of e-sailing and this exciting new windsurf foiling event, we will put our sport in the best position we have ever been in to move it up a level in terms of our IOC income. So when you tie that in to the thinking from, the RSX, even those favouring RSX for 2024 saying we want foiling for 2028, we know from the surveys we've done and the discussions we've had, many RSX sailors are foiling now. They may not be racing in foiling, but they are foiling. I think as council members and custodians of the future of our sport, we have to ask ourselves, is the advantage of staying with RSX for 2024 outweighed? Does it outweigh the advantage of putting our sport in the best possible position in 2024 to move up an income level in 2024? Thank you.